Hello guys and welcome back. And today we are going to go through my Forex pairs that I'll be looking at coming next week. And actually throughout, most of them will be the course of this coming month. Okay. And we are going to go through some key concepts on Falcon and the smart money concept because I integrate those two. I use Falcon for the patterns and the smart money concept for the entries. Okay, like you can see these entries of mine are not from Falcon, they're from smart money concept. So where they like in these areas, sometimes let me just show you some pairs that I took, especially on indices. Indices have been so good to me this like for the past 2 weeks. So let me just show you guys what's happening over here. As you can see with indices, I took these two indices. I'm not sure why it's not showing my setups. I think I have deleted the analysis, but with the indices, I took the trades way at the top over here at these levels over here. And you can see it's really dipping to the downside, which is lovely to see. Same as France 40. Some indices have been taken out by this pullback. Some pullbacks over here were a bit deep in some other indices, but these two have been so good. These two have been so good. Even though this move, it won't be completely to the downside, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So today I'm going to analyze some few pairs. Today you can see my pairs are a bit many. We have, let me just delete these ones. We have CAD Yen, USD CAD, Kiwi Swiss Franc, Euro Aussie, Bitcoin, and US 500. Okay. So let's start with CAD Yen. And by this yen, by analyzing this yen, I'm doing analysis for like all the yens. Okay. So we have been waiting for the drops on the yen pairs, and you can see as from our last analysis we had this area to watch out for, and we had our three-touch pattern over here. Okay, this was our three-touch pattern, but you can see the price is still consolidating in these levels. It's still grabbing some liquidities in these areas. So guys, you just need to be aware of what's happening. With CAD Yen, it's a bit even easier to see what's happening. Unlike some other pair like Kiwi Yen, it was so obvious it's grabbing liquidity on both sides. So you need to be aware of what's happening. And currently, being in our value area, I can see we are having a pattern over here. Let's see, let's just draw this one. You can have a pattern from these areas over here. You can see it's been quite ascending type of channel in this level. So I'll be expecting the push to the downside, but it's not yet confirmed, guys. It's not yet confirmed. We might have a spike over here to catch people who already are in the sales, and then we drop against the downside. So be aware of what's happening in these levels. Don't just enter, guys. You need a clear push in price followed by a correction. So let's just wait for that pullback. Let's just wait for that pullback, and then we'll see how it goes over here. I've told you guys we entered this meeting quite late, and the session is almost over actually, but it's okay. We'll start another one anyway. So next, let's go through Dollar CAD. We did analyze this pair last week. Okay, we did analyze this pair last week, and we had let me just redraw the structure that we had. We had our structure like this. If you can remember, we had our structure like this. Okay, we had our structure like this, and you can see we also had this key area over here. And you can see the price pushed that area. Once the price reached this area, we dropped the downside quite impulsive on 4 hours. So with this, you usually look at the last up candle before the big drop to the downside, where you look for your pullback, of which it was in this level over here. So once the price reached to this level, we go down to our 1 hour. Once the price reached that candle of ours, the order block over there, we took the trade over here, and I did post this trade for you guys. We did take this trade over here. The price went down, let's see, about how many pips. Your first target could have been this low, the previous low over here. This could have been your first target. of which you could have secured around 78 pips, but it went all the way to 108 pips before pushing again to the upper. So congrats if you took this trade. It was a lovely one. And now what's happening is that the price has pushed again aggressive to the upside, because this one, after this push, the price decided to move down, but correctively in these areas. So we can adjust our pattern. We adjust our pattern according to what we are seeing the market is doing. So by adjusting our pattern, we'll get this new one over here, new structure in these areas. Okay, we'll have this pattern over here. Okay, this is the next pattern that I'm seeing. And you can see the potential area is on this area where we first got the big drop to the downside. So clearly it will be in this green candle before the push to the downside. So for me, I can see this area lining up nicely with this pattern. So if we manage to get this pullback, let's see. If we manage to get this pullback all the way to these areas, then we might wait for that entry to take this straight to the downside, reaching all the way to 90%, which is this level, and potentially even more to the downside, because you can see we have a clean green candles over here. So it means that there is also some space left in these levels over here, of which we did draw the value area last week. We drew this value area, and it is these areas over here. Okay, the last red candle before the push to the upside. So we will wait to see if the price will reach up to that level. But for now, all we want to see is this price pushing all the way to this area, dropping. After it drops, once it drops, you look again for the last green candle before the down push. Then you mark that area as your value area. Then when the price pulls back to that level, you take the sell. Minimum is this target, but you'll see how the market reacts from this area. Then we'll look if you can hold it all the way to this level, because to me, all of this looks corrective to me. So this might be a big correction to clear out this big move happened over here. So I'm seeing this sort of pattern over here, okay, giving us this pattern. Then we continue to the upside. So be alert on this one also. It looks nice. It looks so nice. Next, let's go through Kiwi Swiss Franc. With the Kiwi Swiss Franc, this one was a bit obvious because I remember talking about liquidity grabs on these pairs. So first, let's just come up with our patterns over here. We had this pattern. We had this pattern over here. Okay. Once this pattern happened, we quickly dropped to the downside. Okay, we quickly dropped to the downside. So with that, let me just minimize this. Okay, so with this pattern, you can see this was a very clean pattern of which it dropped to the downside. We did get the pullback to the upside, then again it dropped to the downside. So what happened in these areas is that we were waiting for a pullback in these levels over here. So you can see we broke. Let me just see. We broke these key levels over here. If I maybe let me just mark it by a zone. As you can see, once the price was pushing to these areas, people are looking for buys. Pushed again, we look for buys. Pushed again, look for buys. Again, buys. So there was some liquidity in these levels over here. People also trade support and resistance were trading buys in these levels. So what happened is that the price had to take them out, okay? Take them out, pull back one more time, and then drop the down. So with this big drop was Friday, we had some very massive news which moved the market quite a lot, okay? So with Kiwi Swiss Franc, what I'm expecting right now is this. Let me just adjust this pattern of mine, okay? Let me just adjust it. This is what I'm seeing happening right now, okay? So once the liquidity have been taken, in fact, this drop wasn't even necessary. As you can see, this drop wasn't necessary because with this drop over here, we already grabbed liquidities in these areas over here. So it was to push up followed by this pullback, and then we continue to the upside. Okay, but what happened is that there is some strong news which came in, and this price pushed the downside. So upon this price pushing the downside, you can see we have this lovely pattern over here, and now people who trade support and resistance will look at this one and see this one as a support. Okay, this one as a support. Perhaps maybe let me see if it extends to some other areas. You can see it also was a key support in these areas over here. So upon them seeing this, okay, when they see this, they see this as a lovely area to buy, because this one is a triple bottom. You see the first touch, second touch, the third touch. So they see this as a triple bottom, of which for us, we know there is liquidity again at the bottom over here. So what we are waiting for is this price to push down, grab the liquidity on these areas, we push up, followed by a pullback, and then we enter the market. This is what we are waiting for, okay? The more people are caught on the wrong side, the bigger the push, okay? So this is what we will be waiting for on Kiwi Swiss Franc, okay? And so be alert on it. Overall target will be in this one, 90% rule, but we'll be looking to push this price all the way. You can see we had a clean bearish candle over here. So there is potential it might reach all the way to these levels over here before any other move, okay? So be alert on this one, guys. This one is going to be a lovely one. People are going to be trapped at the bottom over here for sale. So be alert on this one. We're remaining with 2 minutes, and I still have 3 pairs to go. So, okay, let me just quickly run through Euro Aussie. Same price action that has happened on Kiwi Swiss Franc. I'm seeing it happening over here again. Okay, as you can see, this price pushed the downside quite aggressive over here, and currently we had this push to the upside, and then we had this pattern over here, and then we dropped to the downside. So currently what's happening is that we had this impulse correction over here, and then we had another drop, another same pattern, and now we have another drop. But you can see with this drop, it's quite descending of type of way. Okay, it's quite descending in a way. So there is a chance that this price might soon start to push to the upside, and knowing full well it has broken this area. Okay, it has broken this area and it quickly retraced to the upside. So we can't say, you can see this was a very aggressive move to the downside. So it has to clean these areas. And you can see, we can't come up with a pattern in this area. If we try to come up with a pattern like this in this area, this will be like fixing, because you can't say this was a pattern, 3-touch pattern that dropped this price to the downside. Okay, if we take this again to this area, we can't say this was a pattern that dropped this to the downside, because it came from double top and dropped to the downside. So seeing no pattern happen in this area, it shows us that there is something else forming. And looking at it, we have formed some sort of a triple top over here. So with this triple top also, we have liquidity lying around this area. So the price has to come back and break all of this to grab all of this liquidity, this at the top over here. So eventually this market will have to come back, grab all this liquidity over here. Then from there, we'll know if the price will continue pushing to the upside or it will drop again to the downside. So we know the price has to push to the upside to take all of these stop losses at the top over here. So let's just come up with a pattern that will show us some buys. We are biased to the upside right now, because we are anticipating this push to the upside for this liquidity grab. So over here you can see the market has been pushing quite descending type of way over here. Now we have quickly retraced to the upside after a break of that low. Okay, after breaking of this low. So let's go to a 4-hour, see what we can have. Let's go to a 4-hour. Let me just invert. Oh, not even invert. I think I can just see it from here. You have a pattern over here. I think this one. Okay, so you can see we have a very nice clean pattern over here, of which we were to break this low, then we push to the upside. And you can see the push was a bit aggressive and so convincing. So with this push, we would like to see this price coming back. Let's just go down to the for now. Yo, if you have your mic on, just mute it, please. Okay, as I was saying, this was a quite confusing push to the upside. So what we realize is that we have this break of structure over here. Okay, we have a break of structure in these levels. Okay, so in smart money concept, what happens is this: if we, let's say we have our falcon pattern over here. Okay, let me just go to a clean area. If we have our falcon pattern, okay, we have our falcon pattern and the price pushes up, breaking this high, or let's say you want to catch it early. So let's see, can have this. Then this one, we might have maybe an anchor point somewhere and push up. Okay. So if we have a falcon pattern over here, which is a 3-touch pattern, and it's complete, how we look for entries is this way, guys. Okay, how we look for entries this way: we look for a break of structure. As you can see, the price was making lower high over here, another lower high, lower low, and then lower low again over here. So once we break this structure, we break this lower what is it called? Higher lower low, yeah, lower high, that is. So once we break this higher low over here, there is high chance the price usually pulls back down up to the last green candle that started this whole move over here. But if you are still not familiar with that, because let me just show you again something over here. This price usually pulls back in these levels over here, of which this is the entry that we usually enter with. But for you guys, I'm going to show you something else. Once we break this key area over here, usually pull back down up to where this price started, which is these levels over here. Okay, once we pull back up to those levels is where now we look for the overall buys. Now this is what is called the big pullback over here, but we usually enter with this small entry over here. So what you do is you wait for break of structure over here. Once we have broken a structure, wait for that pullback inside that structure up to where the value, up to where the first impulsive move happened in these areas. And this is the area that you take your buys. This is the safest entry that you can have. Okay, but again, you know, if you're in my mentorship program, you know this one, how we enter this one also. So this is how smart money concept usually works out so nicely. This one, like I can assure you, this one also usually works very nicely. Okay, so coming back to our chart over here, we broke this high over here. We broke this high over here. Now, since we have this break of structure, we look for the previous red candle before the up push, which is this one. Okay, guys. So what you need to wait for is a pullback up to this area, and then we take these buys. Okay, this is the only thing. You just need to wait the market to come to you. Wait for the market to come to you. Okay, so once we have this, your first target obviously will be in the previous high over here. Second target will be, let's see, you just look for those order blocks. Look for those order blocks. Like over here, you can see this order block. Now this one is too close. You can look at this one over here. So we can target all the way to these areas. But since we have our falcon pattern, we know where the price should be heading. 90% rule over here. So this is our 90% rule. And this is just part of a small structure, because part of a bigger structure, because we all know our overall structure, we have liquidity at the top over here. So we need to push all the way to these areas. We are looking at around 1,000 pips so on this Euro Aussie pair, okay? Because it moves with a lot of pips. So be alert on this pair, because this one is going to be a swing trade. This one is going to be a swing trade. It's going to be a nice one, okay? So be alert on this pair. Wait for that pullback up to this level over here. Wait for that pullback up to this level. It will come, guys. Trust me, it will come. I know people who trade support resistance will look at this level for it to pull back up to this area, okay? But for me, I know this price has to break it then we push again to the upside. So be alert on this one, because Euro Aussie looks so lovely. Euro Aussie, this pair might be the best pair coming this new month. So we will see. Next, we have Bitcoin. As you can see with Bitcoin, we are still dropping the downside. This one was a clear correction, of which it might not be over, because we might maybe forming a bigger type of correction over here because of this impulsive move over here. So we still don't know if that correction has ended, is about to end or not. But what we know is that the big push of this Bitcoin started from down over here. Okay, started from this down area over here. So if this price is to push up again, it has to come back to this. This is the level that I want this price to come back to. So for me, I expect Bitcoin to continue the drop up to this area. Then we look for our overall buys. Okay. So for now, that's the target that I'm seeing Bitcoin reaching. So let's see what's happening currently. The price pushed up quite corrective, and we had, I think we had a lovely pattern over here. We had this selling channel over here, and you can see the price pushed down quite aggressive. So once the price pushed quite aggressive at this, like this, breaking the lows, as you can see, we have broken this low over here. Okay, we broke this low, this lower high, we broke again this other lower high over here. So upon seeing this break of structure, there is a chance that we might get that pullback. Then we either continue the downside or we'll do something else. But once seeing this break of structure over here, there is a high chance that this price will pull back up to these levels. So let's just go down to a lower time frame. We look for our order block at the top, because the first break of structure was in these levels over here. So let's just look where the price might come back to, of which I can see these areas over here. Okay, so these are the areas that I would like to see this price coming back to. So if this price comes back to this area, then we'll take again this right to the downside. Okay, this is how I look for my entries, guys. You just have to wait for the market to come to you. Okay, but as you can see, since this is Bitcoin, it moves a lot of pips. We can take advantage of these buys at the top. Okay, so what you do is wait for break of this trend line. We might be having this trend line over here. So what you do is wait for a break of this trend line, then followed by a pullback, and then we take the buys. Potentially, it will give us, because with the Bitcoin, usually it respects these key areas over here. So just wait for this break, then a pullback, and then we take the buys up to these areas. Then from here, we'll see how the market reacts from it. You know, with Bitcoin, it's so simple to analyze, guys. This one is as simple as it can get. Always look for break of structure before you look for any correction to enter the market. Look for a break of structure. Okay, guys. So lastly, let's go through US 500. This one was also a very lovely trade. And you can see, if I'm to draw my trend line, this was the downtrend. This was the downtrend over here. And you can see the price broke quite impulsive from these areas over here. From this area, we had this very nice clean candle over here from this push in this area. So trying to get our order block. Let's just go to our 1 hour to see if we can get something from these areas. Okay, nice. You can see this area over here before the big push to the upside. So what I'm expecting this price to do is to continue dropping up to this area, but you can see the price has been quite aggressive to the downside. So with this aggressive push, we will expect a pullback before we continue the move to the downside. So let's look for another order block at the top before we reach these levels over here. And for now, let's see what we can have. You can see this was a lovely pullback which we took. You know, this is the first correction which we always took with my members. They know how to enter that. But I can see, let's try and draw a trend line. Let's see if we can get something, because the trend line, usually where the trend line breaks, order blocks tend to be along that areas, along that area. So let's see if we can get another block. Yeah, as you can see, as I told you guys, order blocks, you can usually get them. If you find a bit hard time to get the right order block, you can use that strategy to get the order block. So for me, I would like to see this price pushing back up to this area before we continue to the downside to these areas over here. So looking at this move, this was a very big move. So we can catch also this up move, because we had another break of structure. Okay, we have another break of structure over here. Okay, this was a previous lower high over here, which was a key lower high, and we have just broken it. So upon this break, we expect the price to pull back inside again. We expect this price to pull back up to that order block. Then we continue the downside, pull back again to the next order block where we'll get the right entry now. Then we continue to the downside up to these levels. Okay, as you can see with indices, most of them we don't have a clean pattern. But if you use the order blocks, if you use the smart money concept, it's much easier for you to get the entries. For this one, I didn't take the trade on S&P, but I did take the trade on Nasdaq, because Nasdaq moves nicely with a lot of pips than this one. So we'll be expecting the pullbacks on Nasdaq and US30. All of them will be expecting this pullback up to these areas. Then once we get that drop, and then we get the confirmation entry, then we'll enter this market to the downside. Okay, guys. So that's it from me this weekend, and I hope you guys have learned something from it. And now I can be taking any other question you might have, or any pair that I haven't analyzed that you have in mind, so that I can help you analyze it. So if you have it, type in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and let me know. Any pair you want me to go through? Oh, Big Daddy, you have a question? Yeah, shoot before I go to Joyce or the card.
Okay, good day, Nash.
Good day, good day.
I would like to ask, when you're about to taking a trade, do you first of all make sure that you have the 3-touch pattern? Like, do you set your entries on the 3rd touch, or can you just take entries on the break of any trend line? Must it be on the 3rd touch, or can it be the break of any trend line on the chart?
Okay, that's a nice question. You know, I have both sides. You know, you can't just sit on the watch looking at some trends going just because you don't have a pattern. Okay, so for Falcon, let's see. Okay, so I was saying, with Falcon, you need the 3-touch pattern. Okay, you need a 3-touch pattern. But what if there is no Falcon pattern, but you can see a clear push in price? Okay, for me, let's say the price was pushing up. Okay, let's say we had a descending type of channel, even though maybe it could not have lined up 1 to 3 touch. Then it quickly pushed to the upside. Okay, quickly pushed to the upside. Then it has a pullback, but this pullback also is not a Falcon type of a pullback. And then it continues to the upside. You can see with this price, we knew with this descending channel, we knew the price will push to the upside. But what happens is that the price did push the upside and gave us a correction. But you can see with this correction, there is no pattern to draw. There is no pattern to draw over here. So if you're just focusing with patterns alone, not every correction will have a clean pattern. Okay, the market can do whatever it wants. So for you to not miss out on the next move, you just look for those order blocks. Okay, and that's where now the order blocks comes in. You don't have to have a pattern for you to enter with an order block. Okay, you just need a break of pattern, a break of trend line impulsive. It needs to be impulsive, guys. It needs to be impulsive, and it needs to have a break of structure. Okay, if we break a certain key area, a lower, like this one is a lower high, a key lower high. If we break a key lower high, then we can wait for that pullback up to the previous order block, which will be around these areas. We usually have the order blocks around these areas over here. Okay, so once we pull back up to those up to that order block in these areas correctively, then what we do now is we just wait for a candlestick for confirmation over here. So with the candlestick confirmation, you already know what to look for, the dojis and the bullish engulfings over here. So once we reach these levels, we look for those rejection candles, the wicks. Wicks are the most effective ones that you can look at. So once you get the wick rejections in that area, you take the trade. Okay, so it's not necessarily you need a Falcon pattern to trade. You don't. I know there is some people I know, they just use trend line alone. They just use trend line alone. They can have but most of the trend line, this one is effective on higher time frame, not on lower time frame. Okay, the price must be pushing up. Okay, of course we see this pattern pushing up correctively, and then it drops the downside. What happens after this drop? We usually get a pullback. That's an obvious thing. We'll get a pullback of some sort. So if you're not a Falcon, if you don't want to trade the Falcon way, the patterns and stuff, maybe even here you could not have gotten a clean pattern. Wait for that break of structure. Wait for that break of structure, and then wait for a pullback inside that structure again. So once we get that pullback inside that structure, that's where we enter the downside. Okay. It's all about looking for that order block inside over here.